So I'm about to try my hand at making a cutting board using some pieces of wood and some resin. First, what I've done is I've got this 11 by 9 inch foil baking sheet, which is roughly the size of a cutting board. I'm going to use that for a mold. I've got plastic wrap put together to keep the resin from sticking to that foil pan, which hopefully that'll work. And that is the first step, is to do that. Now that's done. Got that put in there. So next thing we're going to do, bring it over here. Now we're going to load it up with some random different sized pieces of a Japanese maple tree that I have outside that the power company is going to be cutting down shortly, so I figured I'd jump on and grab some of it to try this out while it's still there. Using some larger pieces. I'm going to also use some smaller pieces, and then once I pour the resin in, I'm going to put even smaller bits in to fill in the gaps some of the way. I'm not going to fill gaps in all the way. I don't want that piece. That's doesn't look very good. So that is what I'm starting with. I'm going to pour the resin in. And once the resin's poured in, like I said, I'm going to add in some smaller twigs and such. Pieces about this size. These pieces won't stand up on their own. So once I get the resin in, I'm going to try and put them in there and see how that goes. Like I said, this is the first time I'm ever doing anything like this. So now we're going to mix our resin and color it and pour it. We'll see how that goes. Now I'm going to be using Naked Fusion Diamond Clarity epoxy resin and the hardener. Now they don't have instructions on how to mix it on the bottles, so I got to get on the website real fast and see what their exact directions are. I'm going to assume it's 50-50 mixture since they came in the same quantity, but I don't know, so I'm going to go check that and make sure. So read the instructions, good on that. It's 1-to-1 hardener and resin. With a 0.5% more resin for a harder finished set. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to add just, about 0.5% more. I don't need to do a whole lot. I don't need to use a whole bunch for this. And because it's my first time, I'm going to use a color from my Rolio pigments, which is it's mica powder. I'm going to use a color that I am not overly fond of, and that's this, whatever color this is, pearl white, I guess is what it says. So I'm going to use that because I'm not overly fond of it, so if this doesn't go well, I won't get too upset. And there's several other colors I'm not super fond of, but we'll see how it goes. Okay, so I've got my mix and my pour done. And that pearl white, that's actually really pretty now that I see it. I had to actually mix 2 batches because I underestimated how much I needed with the first pour, which, as you can see from in the bottle, there didn't take a gigantic amount, but it took a good amount. Now I'm going to fill in some of these empty spots, or try to. See how that goes. See how this goes with some of these smaller twigs. Now, I was wearing gloves, but they got kind of messed up. I should probably go put another pair on real quick to do this, because I don't want to get this stuff on my hands. So I'm going to do that and fill that in, and then we'll see what it looks like. So that is what it's going to look like. And obviously I'm going to take off a couple layers. Well, the smaller pieces are wanting to move around as the epoxy kind of sets and pushes the air bubbles up to the top. So it's probably not going to end up actually looking like that. It's probably going to look different by the time it's done. But we're going to see. Now I got to let it set. And it's gonna set for, a long time. I will probably move that out to the shed before the kids get home from school, so nobody messes with it. As you can see, I added a tablecloth to clean up the mess. It's a non-porous tablecloth. I used a spoon to get the last bit of the resin out of my mixing bowl there, and we're gonna see how that turns out. Hopefully it turns out pretty well. If not, try something different. Alrighty, so we'll get back to you when it's set.